Hey, Work Positive Nation, my guest today is the Executive Vice President, Chief People Officer of Golden One Credit Union in Sacramento. She oversees HR business partners, talent acquisition, diversity, equity, inclusion, organizational effectiveness, total rewards, people analytics, enterprise development, internal communications, and HR operations. Whew. Are you as tired as I am just hearing all of those responsibilities? Well, maybe that sounds a lot like your position description also. You know, HR leaders are in charge of a lot of essential functions. The question behind all of these responsibilities is this: how do you lead all of them? Well, my guest today leads as a catalyst to create a positive, collaborative work environment that attracts, develops, and retains a dynamic workforce. And she does it so well that Golden One was recognized as one of Forbes' best in-state employers in California for the 4th year in a row, and also named one of American Banker's best credit unions to work for the 2nd consecutive year. Wow! Want to learn how she does it and how you can too? Then listen to our conversation to discover how you too can lead your team to work positive. Hey, Work Positive Nation, my guest today is the Executive Vice President, Chief People Officer of Golden One Credit Union in Sacramento. She oversees HR business partners, talent acquisition, diversity, equity, inclusion, organizational effectiveness, total rewards, people analytics, enterprise development, internal communications, and HR operations. Whew. Are you as tired as I am just hearing all of those responsibilities? Well, maybe that sounds a lot like your position description also. You know, HR leaders are in charge of a lot of essential functions. The question behind all of these responsibilities is this: how do you lead all of them? Well, my guest today leads as a catalyst to create a positive, collaborative work environment that attracts, develops, and retains a dynamic workforce. And she does it so well that Golden One was recognized as one of Forbes' best in-state employers in California for the 4th year in a row, and also named one of American Banker's best credit unions to work for the 2nd consecutive year. Wow! Want to learn how she does it and how you can too? Then listen to our conversation to discover how you too can lead your team to work positive. Work Positive Nation, my new best friend. I want to move to Sacramento just to hang out with her. Here's Heather Andrade Newman. Heather, welcome to the Work Positive podcast.
Well, welcome. Thank you so much for having me. It's an honor.
Yeah, oh, the honor is ours because, as you heard Work Positive Nation in the introduction, I mean, they won 16,392 Best Places to Work awards, something like that. Maybe I exaggerate a little bit. But since we started Newsweek's Greatest Places for Women to Work, you received that award, Heather.
Yes.
Newsweek's America's Greatest Workplace. Okay, you received that award. Forbes Best in-State Credit Union. And that's saying a lot, right? And then as if that weren't enough, Time Magazine, as you're listening to this, has given them America's Best Mid-Sized Employer Award. So I'm like, if anybody knows how to create a positive work culture, it has got to be Heather Andrade Newman. I'm honored to have you on the podcast today. Thanks so much.
It's an honor to be here.
It really is.
Talking about Golden One and what we're doing.
That's right. And golden1.com, and it's the number one if you want to go over there while you're listening, or if you're on the Peloton or walking the dog or something, go. And then it's in the show notes. You can go to golden1.com later. So Heather, before you started working, you're the Executive VP, Chief People Officer. Before you started working there, you were actually a member of Golden One.
Yes, I always love this story. So I was a member for many years prior to being approached to be the Chief People Officer. And I think one thing that really resonated with me was just the care and the way that our employees service their members and communities. And it was a no-brainer for me. Besides all of the recognition, it was just how the feeling, really living the core values, and it had me hooked instantaneously.
What were some of those core values that hooked you, Heather?
So we actually have an acronym, IRISE, and our core values are really aligned to integrity, reliability, inclusivity, service, and excellence. And we feel that's just fundamental to allow us to achieve our mission of being, a credit union that is centered around helping our members, our California members, bring out their most for their financial well-being. And it's really exciting because in everything that we do for our members and communities, that's how we live it. And it starts at home, and home is with our employees.
So what attracted you to Golden One was this alignment between your personal core values and the iRise core values of Golden One. Was there one particular of those five core values that really appealed to you and attracted to you?
Wow, if I had to look at just one, it's so interesting because they're all so woven together so tightly.
Hmm.
I would have to say it's the service to each other. It's the service. We are very much a servant leadership organization. We're very much an organization that puts community and our members first. And I think to me, that just really resonated. As I look at our brand, it's a strong brand. Now we are domiciled in the state of California, but a strong presence in the Sacramento region in our central San Joaquin Valley, which is the central region of the state. And it just really resonated, the service to each other, never settling, always ensuring that we're uplifting, which was really what hooked me initially. And as I became more, I would say, immersed as the chief people officer, it just was, to me, are also our ability to give back. I would say when we look to attract talent, one of the biggest things we hear from our prospective candidates is, wow, you're doing so much in the communities. We want to be a part of it.
Mm.
Also seeing what we're doing. Our employees are very active in volunteering. We encourage board membership. We encourage really being front and center. And I think if you want to work for a purpose-driven organization that's really tied to the mission, we really attract those employees who want to pay it forward.
So rather than waiting until we have an opening, we need to put out a listing or something like that. I mean, you're reminding me of Jesse Cole with the Savannah Bananas. They've got like 5,392 people standing in line wanting to work for the Savannah Bananas, right? You guys have got a long line out the door of applicants too, it sounds like, because of your active presence in the community.
I think that's a real big key focus for us. And I would also say employees. Our employees are very big, evangelize really quite heavily on what we do here. And I think what I love about this is we get a lot of employee referrals. And I think that speaks volumes to the fact that why do you want to work for a place? Of course, we invest a lot in pay. And I would say a priority for us is how do we continue to evolve our employees with career development? But you want to work for an organization that you feel you can thrive. And if you see your friends thriving and really feeling that this is an organization that hears them and there's a sense of belonging and inclusivity, you want to join that. You want to know what that secret sauce is. And I think that's really what I'm most proud of is the employee referrals we get, very strong.
Yeah. So in my mind's eye, Heather, I'm seeing some folks in the backyard somewhere, right? They're having a barbecue and
Yes,
somebody starts complaining about work. It happens, right? And it
of
seems like a
course.
conversation. And they start going on and on and on about what a sorry work culture they've got and how sorry their boss is. And the SHRM numbers,
Yes.
58% of us leave a job because of a bad boss. And one of the Golden One employees says, I don't know what you're talking about. Right? I work in a great place and here's all the things that make us great. And everybody around here is going, yeah, how do I put in an application?
Yeah, and we're very active in the community too to seek that and to be very proactive because at the end of the day, I think Golden, when we continue to grow and we've got very big aspirations, we want people to come along with us. And our value proposition is really important to say, hey, you can grow your career anywhere, but we want you to grow your career here. And this is why we're invested into you, your whole well-being, financial, mental, physical, emotional, career wise. But I think for us, we're really leaning into that value proposition as you can grow your career here, thrive. So that's our message. And I'm really excited. And if you're also excited about making a difference in the communities in which you serve, well, you've got an opportunity to do that here. And I think that speaks volumes. Our employees are very heavy into the volunteerism in the communities. I just love that.
Yeah, we're all looking for that noble cause beyond
Yes,
ourselves to give so that we receive or give and receive. So
yes,
you're really talking about here a couple things that are near and dear to our heart here in Work Positive Nation, and that's belonging and becoming. because those are like twin pillars or
Yes.
twin footings for the foundation of reducing team turnover. So talk to us about, let's take on the becoming first, the career advancement and development, things like that. Tell us some of the things you and Golden One do to help me as an employee continue to grow and develop in my own skills.
No, absolutely. And I view culture, it's a how. It's not an it, it's a how. It's how you invest, how you show up, what are the programs you offer. And so for us, culture is something we embed with our core values in everything we do. It's really woven into our DNA. It's not a one and done. So for us, I look at it at belonging. Our employees really have the ability to show up and be their authentic self each day. We want that. Whether it's investing and participating in our ERGs, career development, it's a huge priority. All employees have an individual development plan, regardless of where they are in the credit union.
Wait a minute, let's not gloss that over. That's ordinary for you, but it's extraordinary for the rest of us. How many employees for Golden
Uh,
One?
roughly about 2,100 right now.
About 2,100. And did I hear you correctly? Each one of those 2,100 employees has
And
an individual development plan?
yes, we really feel it's important. It was something that we rolled out. We do a lot of feedback. And I think one of the things that's really important is a lot of two-way communication, because you can't create culture or programs that support culture in a vacuum. You really need cross-pollination and input from across the credit union or any organization. So our IDPs rolled out, and that really is aligned to how do employees improve their skills in their current roles, and what do they aspire to be? Where do they want to go around career pathing? And so those are very real discussions that we have our leaders have with each and every employee. We believe in ongoing feedback. It should never be a surprise. And how do we help our employees develop? I would have to say, one of the things that I'm really most proud of is we really invest heavy in career development, whether that's with on-site learning, sending employees out, certifications. We're very big on
Mm.
helping employees advance. We do an aspiring leaders program, mentoring, leadership on up through individual contributor programs, just because we feel it's really important for employees to be well-rounded, develop.
Mm.
As with technology and with so many rapid changes, you need to be kept up and current. I mean, obviously, skills from last year or with the digital and AI transformation, you need to constantly stay current. So for us, it's investing in our employees is really key. It also helps with retention. And to me, a measurement of success is how many employees have I promoted, are advancing, are being able to do, maybe it's a cross-training role, maybe it's job shadowing. What are we doing to create satisfaction for them? And I'm really excited that we're able to do that. Our culture statement is we care, we serve with pride, and we are stronger together. And it's not just a mantra, it's what we embed from our onboarding through the employee life cycle, because that's just, I love to say it's woven into, I mentioned our DNA, but that's just how we operate or how we roll. And I love to see that. I have a lot of new hires that start with us that say, gosh, your orientation is fabulous, your follow-up, everything. But I was worried that maybe it was just, I was drinking the Kool-Aid. And then they come back and say, wow, you really do live this. Wow, this is pretty cool. It's a compliment. I love that. We've been called the Disneyland of financial institutions. That's kind of a
Wow.
wild one, but
Yeah.
not goofy, or we're hopefully not on the Matterhorn. But it's nice to know that we're walking the talk.
Yeah, because so many places they'll do iRise equivalent, right, or something close to it, and it'll go on the wall. It's all typed up as nice and pretty, and the font look is brand consistent. Man, you talk to the people, and it's like, what am I reading and what am I seeing? It's just this
And what
huge
are the
disconnect.
actions?
So yeah, so there's no wonder that your new hires are like, hey, this place really is who they say they are, which is such a breath of fresh air today in the work environment, because I know that one of the challenges is this disingenuous date hard recruitment approach, right? And then once you're married, it's like, okay, I told you I love you once, that's enough, right?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, that's the way it rolls. So how do you maintain the consistency of iRise in the daily behavior?
One thing I always tell my team, then we as an executive leadership team really feel, is culture is very intentional. It can go in a heartbeat if it's not fostered, maintained, set to thrive. So it is a laser focus at Golden One on our culture. And so a few of the things that we look at to measure, are we doing the right thing? One of them is really gauging our strategic goals, alignment, and results, making sure employees are connected. Do they feel that they're able to align to our true north of mission and our goals? And do they see their impact? Do they know how important and how they're influencing and shaping the lives of our members and the goals of the credit union? Really ensuring that is clear. And we do that through multiple ways of communication. I also say two-way communication is important. Top down is sometimes equally as important as top down, top up, in the middle. It's everything. And you have to have multiple channels, especially for, I would say we're a diversified workforce. We have remote, we have hybrid. We even have a few employees out of state. So how do you stay connected to make sure that that care and feeding of the culture is alive and well? And we do several things. Obviously, retention is important. That's a key culture success measure that I look at. But it's also stay interviews. What keeps our employees at all levels staying? What are they like? What are we doing? What can we improve upon? We do a lot of focus groups, and that can be anything from process improvement to when we look to implement any type of technology for our employees is what's the user experience? Is this how perhaps our members will see the use of technology? Engagement. I know there's a lot of people on the fence of an annual engagement survey. We do an engagement and pulse surveys throughout the year. And I say, if you're going to do any survey, you need to be able to have that follow through. You lose a lot of credibility if you don't. And we take it very seriously. And I knock on wood, but historically we've rated in the 75th to 90th percentile across our board on almost any. But that's, I'll be honest with you, it takes us really holding our leaders accountable to say, you need to listen to what our employees are saying. It's extremely important. It fosters inclusivity, belonging, empowerment. If employees feel they have a voice and their voice is being heard. So for us, it's something we don't take lightly. And I think that really has been a game changer for us. We evolve, we learn. And at the end of the day, I'll say we fail fast. If we I don't like to say fail fast. I would say learn fast. If we do something and didn't have the impact that it we'll just dust it off and do something else. But I think that's also, we want to foster that innovation where employees, they come up with some fantastic things that we implement.
That's right. So why would you not listen to them, right?
Absolutely.
And move forward. So whether you're falling or failing, you're going forward, right? And just increasing the opportunities there. Heather Andrade Newman is the Chief People Officer for Golden One. If you want to, you can go over to golden1.com now or later. It'll be right there so that you can go and catch a sense of all these amazing culture pieces that are taking expression there. And Heather's making herself available. Her LinkedIn profile's in our show notes. She'd love to connect with you and share messages with you about some of the things there because there's so much we can all learn from Heather and the amazing culture there at Golden One. So you're mentioning several ways that you measure culture success. Now, somebody listening to this podcast somewhere around the world, not my mom, but somebody somewhere is listening to this podcast and they're saying, that's a California company. This all sounds mighty squishy. But I'm betting, right, that you have demonstrated what HBR and others have talked about, something along the lines of a 19% increase in operating income, a 28% increase in revenue growth. These are year-over-year numbers. Talk to us about that financial bottom line.
Yeah, no, that's really important. And I think one of the biggest things we found as we emerged, we're in the financial business, we're very moderate risk, we're very conservative as an institution. And for us, it's not always about throwing people to solve an issue. How do you really solve an issue and look at it through multiple lenses, make sure your operating expenses are in line? And what I think has really been interesting for us is that we watch this with a laser focus, is how do we look for things to do, a few things I would say, that perhaps aren't adding value. And I'll say when we emerge post-pandemic, and I use this as an example because our headcount has remained fairly static, but of course our asset size has increased. Our products and services that we offer to our members since the pandemic obviously continue to evolve, which was great. But I think one of the biggest credits that we looked at is how do you utilize the tools and technologies you have, or how do you also look at, it's not necessarily headcounts, how can you do things much smarter, more efficient, and also what do you need to stop doing? Just because you did it all the time doesn't mean you need to continue to do it. Which was a big eye-opening for us coming out of the pandemic. And I think for
sure.
us, and I say this, is we were able to become, sometimes I think we're scrappy. My background is to be much more financially responsible, coming from my old days, contract manufacturing and technology.
Mhm.
So for us, it's really looking to say, how do we maximize and provide our internal employees with development opportunities, lean into technology, but part of that is we know it's a disruption. How do we get them comfortable with that? But also trying to automate as much as we can
Sure.
as a tool, which doesn't necessarily mean adding additional headcount. It means freeing up employees to take on other opportunities to serve our members and to grow, which has been pretty amazing since we have maintained that headcount. We saw during the pandemic, we grew assets from 12 to over 20 billion in the
Wow.
course of a few years. And
Wow.
we really tried to be very resourceful. And again, it's not throwing headcount at things. It's how do you look at technology? How do you leverage what you have? How do you use third parties? Or how do you also just, again, as I mentioned, stop doing things that may not have added that value to the communities? Or how do you partner, which is really important?
That is important. Hey, I like the word scrappy that you used. I'm going to start saying scrappy instead of agile, because agile, I mean, everybody's agile, right? Oh, no, we're agile, right? Nah, Golden One is scrappy. I like that.
Resourceful.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. And what you're talking about is inviting people to think beyond the norm,
Yes.
to act beyond their comfort zone, but you're creating this safe environment for them to go out and fall forward or fail forward, right? And to try some stuff to see what will work. And maybe a lot of us gave lip service to that pre-pandemic, but to your point, you guys really grew, almost doubled your assets in the pandemic. So you obviously were looking at the human dynamic of the work that you do and caring for your members as well as your employees and making sure that you were producing for your members.
It was, I will say, before the pandemic, again, as a traditional financial institution, we were dabbling a very little bit in remote work. Come the pandemic, little thing, there's no playbook. And of course, my number one priority as the executive leadership team was to make sure our employees were safe. So we went from being pretty much domiciled on site in most of our locations. Our branches remained open, but all of our back office, we had to mobilize quickly. And with that comes the ability to say, what are the tools and technology and resources we can provide to our leaders and employees to make it easier? We thought we were only going out for a couple weeks, and then 2 years later, 40 pounds heavier, right? All of those crazy things happened, but it was actually it really showed us what we could do to maintain service levels, take care of our members and employees, making them feel safe, but giving those opportunities to learn new things and add value. And have a say in it, which was really, I think, a big success for us.
Oh, yeah, to be empowered to be a part of growing the company internally and externally. And we're back to belonging and becoming, aren't we? I have a voice, I'm heard, I can make an impact, and then here's a demonstrated career advancement path for me. I have my individual development plan, my IDP, and so I can move forward to pursue that. So in the midst of all of this amazing stuff, let's look at what some challenges are, Heather. Where do you find yourself bumping your head?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. I think for us is we emerged post-pandemic and digital was everywhere. You heard digital transformation, AI, which I feel is a tool. It's a tool. It's a tool. And it's one that businesses and employees need to be aware of, and how do you lean into it. I think for us, one of the things that emerged was for us doing more of a digital transformation. We're still in a digital transformation for how do you make, and I would say traditionally credit unions are not cutting edge. You normally don't want your financial institution to be cutting edge.
We want conservative. We want safe.
Yes.
Yeah.
For us, we are in the midst of a digital transformation. And what does that mean for employees? And for me, it's exciting, but it's also knowing that there are fears. Well, what does that mean? I've been doing this job for 15 years and I love it. And
Mhm.
I don't want to learn something new because we do have some pockets of our population that are very happy
Sure.
and do great service.
Yep.
So our biggest thing over the past few years is telling the storytelling of, the why behind it
Mm.
and why helping them upskill their skills and having them have a voice as we're working towards transforming the business and
Mm.
processes is important. And it doesn't mean their jobs are going away. It means their jobs are going to be more enriched to be able to do things to
Mm.
free their time up to maybe learn a new skill or support the business in another way. And I think the biggest thing for me as we started this last year was really making sure that we did share the why for employees and the storytelling because things can go pear-shaped in a heartbeat.
Yep.
Because change happens to everybody, but happens all around, but to me. And we wanted to make sure employees felt a part of that. And that's been successful, but it's taken time too. That's part of a cultural shift too,
Mm.
to get them to feel comfortable. And that's why we continue to invest so much in training and
Wow.
leadership development to help our leaders tell that story too. And focus groups when we roll out a new technology to have our employees have a say because they're so close to how we maybe process or resolve a claim that we want that input. So it's really making sure first we were very concerned that how is this going to affect our secret sauce? But that's a journey. I think the digital transformation, getting engagement from employees is something we just don't lose sight of. Because if we don't include and we don't over communicate, that's when you get fear. And we don't want fear in the workplace.
Hmm. Yeah, because there's this mental vacuum
Oh,
then that
yes.
all the fear fills, right?
Yes.
I love what you're talking about here, Heather, because in the midst of digital transformation, as rapidly as it occurs and as unexpected as it is, who was even saying AI other than a few geeks before the pandemic, right?
Exactly.
And I was one of those, so I can say that about us. By the way, my friend Dr. Bob Johansen has taught me to say augmented intelligence rather
Oh,
than
I like that.
artificial. So we're augmenting our human abilities with these machine learnings going on. So, but anyway, we look for certainty to stay in that safe place, that comfort zone, because our mind is in such a way that doesn't want us to march off our maps because that's where the wild things are, right? And we might get eaten by something. But instead, you guys are doing, I heard two really key pieces there. You're doing a great job of providing clarity. And you're doing that by connecting a why. People just want to know why we're doing this. What's wrong with the old way of doing it? Well, okay, but here's the why. And then the storytelling, the messaging is so important. Tell me a story and I'll remember it. Give me a bullet points in a data set, and I'm like, my eyes glaze over and I can't see that. So good for you guys for providing that clarity. We may not know exactly what the digital transformation is going to look like. In fact, we don't. But here's why we're pursuing it, and here's how we're going about it. So we're telling stories, and that builds empathy in the organization at Golden One, doesn't it?
It does. It does. And it really helps our employees feel a part of something larger, feeling connected, that
Hmm.
they have the ability to help influence this direction. And that's what we want. If we didn't have our culture and the people behind it, our employees are, again, I think they're a game changer. They're our most important resource. I think they're our brand. They make us who we are. We would just be any other company. You've got to have that heart, and our
Yeah.
employees are our heart.
Yeah. Well, obviously, that's what attracted you because you're a member and you're walking in the door, going through the drive through, online, doing your transactions. And that's what impressed you enough to leave a couple of household name companies that shall remain nameless to come to work at Golden One. That's an amazing story in and of itself. Heather Andrade Newman is my guest on this episode of the Work Positive Podcast. Go to Golden One, the number one.com right now and check out what they've got going on. You'll see some incredible things there. You can learn a lot from just that website alone. And when you want to learn more, because I know you will, Heather is so generous in sharing what it is that you're doing. And oh, by the way, in case you didn't pick up on it, which I'm sure you did, she's humble about it too. You hear her keep saying we and the team and our company and things like that. So reach out to her on LinkedIn, shoot her a question, ask her how she'd handle something. She's very generous and humble about it, and she'll tell you how we are working on this now, and she'll want to learn from you too. So it'll be a great conversation that you'll have. That being said, Heather Andrade Newman from Golden One. Work Positive Nation always wants me to ask my guest, and I'm really waiting to hear what you say. How about their one thing? So, Heather Andrade Newman, what's your one thing that you would say to Work Positive Nation? Hey, do this one thing today to start creating a positive work culture right where you are.
And that's a great question. To me, it's be the role model, be the example for your team and your organization. It starts with the top and really model your core behaviors, core values and behaviors that are
Yeah.
associated with them. So often we just impose that on an employee, but we as leaders have to model those behaviors. That's foundational to the success of any strong and healthy culture.
Heather Andrade Newman, you're amazing.
You're
I
amazing.
thank you for this conversation. I'm better for this conversation today. I know Work Positive Nation is too. We've all learned so much from you. Thank you for your generosity and for your gracious spirit in sharing today.
Well, thank you for having me. It's been a true honor and pleasure. Really enjoyed it.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Work Positive Podcast. Please share this podcast with your friends who are HR and small business leaders so they can do one thing today to create a positive work culture that increases productivity and profits. I'd like to give you a free Work Positive course just for listening. It's called Something to Talk About, and it's transformed the work conversations of so many people all over the world. Get your free copy when you go to workpositive.today/something to talk about, and you can start transforming your conversations today. Remember, it pays to work positive.